Hey everyone, I'm Fred Ranger and I hope you're doing good. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've posted a video like this one, but there are good reasons for that. The first one being I was traveling a lot over the past few weeks, and oh my god, traveling is a word that I haven't pronounced on this channel for a little while for obvious reasons, you know, past 2 years, but I'm so grateful that we're able to hop on a plane and discover new places, people, moments, and so on and so forth, and capture it with our cameras. Speaking of which, today I want to do a quick video about a lens that was sent to me, so thank you Viltrox for sending me this lens. Viltrox did not ask me to say anything specific about this lens, or they are not reviewing the review before I put it out there, so it is just, they asked if I wanted to test it, and it was right before my trip to Italy, which is the destination that we chose this summer, and there's a lot of videos coming up, so if you want to see the photos that we took there and some cinematic videos, make sure you're subscribed and that you are activating that bell notification so you know when those videos will drop. But today I want to talk about actually a very nice lens. It's a 50mm. I will admit that 50mm is a focal length that on the Fujifilm I was pretty familiar with because I was shooting with the 35, I'm still shooting with the 35 f1.4. So when I got offered to test the 50mm that you're seeing here, f1.8 for the Sony mount, and yes, I have a Sony body here because I wanted to have a camera that was very, very good at autofocus, video, and photo, and I was not deceived, to be honest. Still think it's a soulless piece of computer, but hey, it got the job done, and I had my Leica M6 for all the film soulness goodness, if that's something we can say. Okay, so the lens itself, a couple things that I want to note. The first one is that the build quality is exceptional. So this is not a very, very expensive lens. I have some notes here. Just want to tell you how much it cost. It cost $360 US, so that equates to $1 million Canadian. No, it actually equates to 500 bucks if I'm not mistaken. I think I lost my notes. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so yeah, 520 Canadian versus the Sony one that's actually 400 bucks, but it's all plasticky and stuff. So the first one is about the build quality. If you look at this lens, this is an all metal build lens, and it goes from the top of the lens to the bottom of the lens. This is all metal, and it's actually very well built. The only plastic part is the one that you see at the top, or at the front, should I say, of the lens, and it actually feels very, very sturdy, and you will not be too afraid if you bang it into something else. So first off, build quality A1 on this 50mm f1.8. The second point that I wanted to talk about is the clickless aperture. So this is a very nice touch for video shooters or hybrid shooters, because the lens aperture ring that's here is clickless. So if you want to change it while you are filming a video, it's actually better because you don't hear the click, 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 click once you start moving the aperture. Some people might prefer to use the dial to change the aperture. You can still do that by positioning it to the A position, so right here, and when you do that, you are now into manual mode, but with the wheels on your camera. So that's a very nice touch. I will say that the zoom, this is not a zoom, this is a prime lens. I will say that the focus ring is very, very smooth. It offers just the right amount of resistance, so I will invite you to go see one for yourself if you have access to a camera store that actually carries Viltrox lenses, because it is very, very smooth. So what do we have here? Optical quality. I will throw a couple shots that I took with Vicky in Italy, because again, that was a lens that was sent to me right before the trip, so ideal timing. I didn't have a 50mm. I had a couple Tamron zoom lens. I had a 20mm Sony, but that's very, very wide. So it fit in perfectly into my kit. And I'm gonna throw a couple images and talk about the optical quality that I see. The first one is that it does have a bit of chromatic aberrations, but this is, a $400 lens. This is not your G Master $1,000 lens, but even sometimes the G Master lens have some chromatic aberration. And in this day and age, with the softwares and Lightroom being able to correct that, I don't see that as a big problem. It was not super abundant. Of course, at 1.8 you can see it a bit more, and when you zoom in, But again, if you're publishing photos and videos for the web, or if you're using Lightroom as a software for photos and just click the little remove chromatic aberration tick box, you should be good to go. There's a bit of vignetting also when you shoot photos at 1.8, but by f4, f5.6, it's completely gone. And again, this is another thing that in 2022 you can correct in software. By the way, sometimes I actually add vignette to my photos, so sometimes I actually keep the vignetting that this lens has produced, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And the focusing distance is at 55 centimeters, so that's something that you'll have to work with. You cannot get super close with this lens, but I will say that overall, what I'm really impressed by is the bokeh. It might not please everyone because it's a very subjective thing. Bokeh is a bit like wine, like some people like very strong wines, light wines, fruity, and so on and so forth. Well, the bokeh that this lens produces, and again, I'll show a couple examples that I took in Italy, is very pleasing to my eye, and I think it's a great bokeh. The last point I want to make about this lens is the autofocus. So I thought because it's not the native Sony glass that it would be underperforming versus, let's say, the 20mm or any other Sony glass, and boy, as I was wrong, because this thing focuses as good as any Sony native lens, at least in my experience, and it really catch the eye. So I was really using the eye autofocus feature. It's there, so why not using it? I'll even throw a couple shots of my dog Billy, because A7 IV has animal eye autofocus or animal autofocus, and it was able to capture my dog very, very well. And also, of course, in portraits with Vicky, it was bang on. I think the hit rate was like 98%. So you can be confident that this autofocus on this lens will be very efficient. And as you can see on screen, the results are very sharp also. In terms of sharpness, actually, it is a very sharp lens. Of course, when you start going into the corners, this is again a third-party $400 lens, just keeping in mind that this is not a 50 1.0 that you can find on the Sony side and so on and so forth. For the price you're paying, it's actually very, very good performance. I didn't see a lot of softness in the corners. And again, I like this style sometimes to have the center of the frame a little bit more crispy and a little bit more out of focus for the corners. So all in all, very, very satisfied with this lens. Again, I'll throw a bunch of pictures on screen so you can actually see, and I'll even show a bit of a video that we made just here close to our house with some surfers. Yes, I'm in Montreal, but there are people surfing. It's called La Vague Aiguille. I think I mentioned it in a previous video. But if you have any questions about this Viltrox 1.8, please ask them down below. I'll be happy to answer more of your questions, but those are my general thoughts around it. And if the question is, should I get it? I think the answer is absolutely. And it's not because I got sent this lens, it's because I think that it's a very efficient choice when it comes to the price, the quality you're getting, and also the performance that is second to none when it comes to pairing it, at least with a Sony a7 IV. I haven't tried it on the older Sony bodies, but if you have a recent modern a7S III, a7 IV, or anything that's in the past 2-3 years or even 4 years, you'll be fine with this lens. I'm pretty sure the a7 III also is a good match with this lens. So you guys tell me in the comments down below. If you have any questions, let me know. And in the meantime, if you want to subscribe and activate the bell notification so you'll know when I'll drop the Italy video. I shot film down there with the Leica M6, so got a lot of cool shots. Also flew the drone. So I'm working on both a cinematic and a little bit more photography oriented videos. So again, if you want to make sure that you know when this drops, please activate the bell notification and subscribe. I've been Fred Ranger. Please enjoy life, be happy, and enjoy your nifty 50. Cheers.